This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Ay, naku, these days, I cannot understand this bayan. Nung panahon namin, hindi naman masama ang ibig sabihin ng cha-cha. Alam mo, may ibig sabihin ng bawat step ng cha-cha. Step 1, put your right foot forward. Ibig sabihin, tinatansya mo ang tubig. Or better yet, ipapasok mo ba ang puso mo sa masalimot na mundo ng love. Step 2, this second tap is crucial. Dahil sinasabi mo sa partner mo, ready, papasok ako. Step 3, ihakbang mo papasok ang iyong left, eh di magugulat siya. But that is exactly the point. And then, you make him habol, 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 habol. Step 4, iti-take mo na back step ang iyong left foot na ganyan. Medyo itatap mo pa ng tun, tun, oops, and then parang sinasabi mo, are you teasing me? And then, oops, back, back, tease, and forward, and clutch, and tanda. Ang saya-saya, hindi ba? Pero tinan mo ang ginawa ng mga isa, paborito ko sa'yo na cha-cha! Simple lang naman ang cha-cha. Step 1, step your right foot forward. Yan ang senyas mo sa mga allies mo kung ready na sila, ha? You can wink at one congressman. Or maybe 2. No more than 3, ha? Ibig sabihin yan, pag nag-tap rin sila ng kanilang right foot, everybody's ready, ha? Magulo. May crisis. Pagkatapos, ipapasok mo ang cha-cha ng disimulado. Step 2, tap your right foot a second time. Kung makakalusot, okay tayo. Bago papasukin ang big step 3, ipasok natin sa gitna ng impeachment. Impeachment? Gumawa tayo ng ingay. Pagdasalin natin pati ang press secretary. Ha, pagsayawin mo na rin pati ang presidente. This is a crucial time. At alam mo, pag nakapasok ka na, aalma.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Kunanan. Now, on this show, we talk about everything under the sun, and tonight is about charter change. Now, that video that we just watched a few minutes ago is a short segment from a video by the incorrigible and unsinkable Wanna Change, also known as May Paner. Now, May Paner has been on this show several times. We appreciate her videos because she's able to present social, political, and current events issues in ways that are simple, yet entertaining, educational, informative, and funny. And we certainly love May, and we wish her the best of success. Now, on to our show tonight, which is about charter change. You're going to meet tonight a similar character who's also very enigmatic and charismatic. And he's a good friend of mine, and he's been advocating charter change for a long time. And it's my honor to present to all of you tonight, Orion Perez Dumdum. Orion, welcome to Philippines Uncut.
Good evening, buddy. How's it going?
No, good, good. And I'm actually glad that you're on the show tonight because for a long time I've been wanting to get you on the show to talk about charter change, but you're now based in Singapore, I understand.
Yes, I've been based in Singapore actually since 2000, but then there was a time when I came back to Manila in 2010 and then stayed here for a year, but went back to Singapore in 2011. So I've been there for the past several years already. So.
Now, tell us a bit about yourself. I mean, who is Orion Perez Dumdum? Tell us about your academic background and your professional background.
Okay, well, I'm actually an IT professional. I took up computer science and management information systems in the Ateneo. So I'm actually I have nothing to do with politics at all. I'm more of an ordinary person, but I like looking at systems because of my IT background. So I look at systems, I look at what's not working, and then I try to look for solutions to it. And my whole stint as an OFW has actually opened my eyes to so many differences between how different countries are doing what they do versus what we are doing in the Philippines, which is wrong, you know. And then I try to look for what those, the exact root causes are, and then I try to propose solutions. So, yeah, that's how it works.
Living in a country like Singapore, working there, and living there and operating there, gives you, and you said you're into systems.
Yes.
And I cannot think of a more organized, more systematic state than the Republic of Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from that thing, I mean, from that environment, and then now looking back at your home country, the Philippines, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's a
mess.
It's a mess. I mean, what has happened is, essentially when I was in Singapore the first time, all these cab drivers were basically telling me, yeah, before your country richer than us. I mean, they were basically doing that.
And they say it just like that.
Yeah, they said it exactly like that. Hey, back in 1950s, Philippines was the richest here in Southeast Asia. Now, what happened? I mean, they ask me that all the time.
Are you really Filipino? Sound Singaporean?
I mean, I've been there for a long time, so I kind of picked it up.
So I mean, it's tragic though when you, just putting myself in your shoes, and I've also been overseas a lot, and I hear that a lot as well from people in the region. Heartbreaking, It makes you feel bad.
Very, very heartbreaking. Essentially, they looked up to us for a very long time. I mean, a lot of especially in the arts, pop music or movies and all that, a lot of their people learn from our technical expertise. They sent people here to study, to apprentice back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then now what's happened is we've been left behind in almost everything. So
what went wrong? What went wrong? Now, before we go into that, let's talk about, you're the founder of the Correct Movement.
Yes.
Small O and all caps except the O. Correct
Yes,
Movement.
yes.
What is this Correct Movement?
Well, the Correct Movement advocates for what we call constitutional reform and rectification for economic competitiveness and transformation. So the reason why the CO is it's a big C and a small O is because they're from the same word, constitution. So
Nice.
constitutional reform. Actually, we in fact prefer to call it constitutional reform rather than saying charter change, because charter change is, well, first of all, charter change is a word that does not exist outside of the Philippines.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Constitutional reform actually is the word that everybody uses in standard English. So you watch CNN, Al Jazeera, CNBC, MSNBC, BBC, everything, all these other international networks. Whenever they talk about making changes to a constitution, they always use the word constitutional reform. Now here in the Philippines, when you say charter change, it has gotten corrupted in a way to cha-cha. And people make fun of it and make it sound like it's a negative thing. Oh, it's very frivolous, useless, and
the way that Ms. Paner has,
well, she was. I don't know what she
that's
thinks
political
now.
satire.
Yeah.
Right there. Sure.
Yeah, from my understanding is there was a time, and I think she might still be against it, but she was very vocally against constitutional reform before.
The one who actually coined that word cha-cha, if I'm not mistaken, is the former Senator John Osmeña. I think he was the one who actually first started calling it cha-cha, and it just caught on.
Gosh,
so Osmeña.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that. I mean, I'm a Cebuano myself, but I didn't even know
there you go.
that it was him. But yeah, it's such a shame because charter change, whoever first used the term charter change was probably looking at the fact that it was like, charter change, something like Clark Kent or Lois Lane, LLKK, this one is ch. So they were trying to do something that would be kind of catchy. But then it was used by people who didn't like it to happen. So they made fun of it. They demonized it. So now people, whenever you say the word cha-cha or charter change, they say, I don't want that. But they don't understand it.
That's true. That's true. What a
it's pretty
shame.
sad.
What a shame. And it's a serious business, really, because when you talk about the Constitution, that really embodies, who we are as a people.
Exactly.
Our Constitution. No? Okay, let's talk about how did you get interested in constitutional reform? I'm going to say cha-cha. Constitutional reform. How did you get involved in that?
I got very, very much involved with it because of my experiences as an OFW. So going back to when I first lived in Singapore in 2000, I was really curious as to what did they do to make themselves very successful as a country. And I found out that they had a lot of policies in the way they ran their country, what they did in order to manage their economy. And I saw that they were very open in terms of bringing in foreign investors. They also happened to have a parliamentary system as well. Okay, and looking here in the Philippines, I see that, first of all, we have a relatively closed economy.
We are.
Where we have the 60-40, we have all these other
prohibitions on foreign ownership in some areas, in key areas.
Exactly.
Sure.
And in fact, even if we have the so-called Foreign Investments Act in the 1990s, which is supposed to have opened it up to foreign, to certain sectors of the Philippine economy,
it still remains very much closed.
Yes. What happens is anybody who wants to contest the entry of a particular foreign multinational into a sector that they are already in, they will raise a ruckus with the Supreme Court and try to get it announced as being unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And because it's in the Constitution that foreign entities are not supposed to own majority, then that's what happens. And
Is your correct movement? Are you guys focusing really on this, on revising the economic provisions of?
Yes. That is actually,
this is your thrust.
This is our thrust. Well, we have a thrust that has 3 points.
Yeah.
That's one of them. That is in fact the first point.
So that's your main objective, really.
That's our main objective. Well, it is our primary objective, but we also have co-equal other agendas.
Quickly, what are those two?
So first one is economic liberalization, so removing those restrictions. Number 2 is evolving region-based decentralization, or some people would call it evolving federalism.
Okay, let's talk about this. Bring it down to layman's terms. What do you want exactly?
And then, so we don't want the Philippines to continue to be centralized only around Metro Manila.
Okay.
Because everybody thinks that Metro Manila is the only place where you have all these economic opportunities.
Okay, let's talk more specific. What exactly do you want devolved to
Yes.
the provincial governments?
We'd like to make it region-based so that we have better economies of scale. Because some provinces are a little too small. But if you join several provinces that are similar in nature together, there's a bigger chance that they can.
No, but
All
right, my question is, what exactly do you want to see? I mean, how do you want to empower the regions? What power do you want them to have exactly?
Okay.
Specifically?
We'd like them to have economic management autonomy.
Over their own funds?
Over their own funds, the ability to actually easily attract foreign investors to come in or local.
Can they
right
do that?
now, they can to a certain to a limited extent.
Let's say if I were a governor and I went on a road show around Southeast Asia, let's say I was the governor of, let's say, Ilocos Sur.
Yeah.
Which I'll never be. But let's say I was the governor of Ilocos Sur. I would go on a road show of Southeast Asia and attract foreign investors to come to Ilocos Sur. I mean, can they do that now?
Actually, they can, but it's not. You see, a lot of what happens is they are still subjected to the laws of the Philippines in general. So we have too many micromanaging laws, and even our constitution is a micromanaging constitution, which has prevented foreign investors from coming in.
So maybe the local governments would have some power to, let's say, grant tax breaks or to make create favorable conditions within their own jurisdictions.
Exactly.
Okay, clear.
This is what we want. So that was number 2.
Okay.
Number 3 is shifting to the parliamentary system. So that thing has been talked about a lot, but a lot of people just don't understand it. So having lived in Singapore, which is itself a country that uses a parliamentary system, I've done a lot of extensive and intensive research on how it works and have I've written articles about explaining it to people in more layman's terms, using analogies, using a lot of diagrams and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be quite a challenge here because, we Filipinos are used to voting for the president directly. And it'll take a complete paradigm shift of our people to say that, okay, finally, this next elections, we won't be voting for the president. Well, I mean, fine for our MP, member of parliament, but then we can't vote for the PM, the prime minister. It's going to be a change really, if it happens.
What people need to understand is, in the end, when they vote for their MP, under a parliamentary system, when they vote for their MP, they also look at who is the leader of the party that this particular MP is from. So you're not just, in essence, you're actually not voting only for the MP. You're also voting for who the prime minister would be.
For the party and who the head of the party is.
Yes.
Hold that thought, Ryan, because we have to pause for break. Guys, don't go away because more of explaining what constitutional reform, not charter change, constitutional reform is all about when Philippines Uncut returns.